Good afternoon, everyone. This is Junior back with the Diecast Den and our comparing casting series. So today we have the Bone Shaker episode. As you can see here, we have a lot of the same casting, but we'll get to stuff in a moment. This is the Bone Shaker, perhaps the modern flagship of the Hot Wheels series, kind of almost over-encompassing the twin mill itself in terms of the quote-unquote poster car for the Hot Wheels brand in general. And you can see here that there are many different versions of it. So much so that you have not only, of course, livery versions, you have special versions, you have promo versions, you have non-mainline versions, and indeed color variants, even among cars of the same type, and even wheel variants of cars of the same livery even. We'll get to all of that in a moment. As well as this, of course, there are casting variations, just different versions, and sort of spin-offs, you might say. The spin-offs is probably a better word. Some of which I don't own, but we'll get to that in a bit. For now, we'll stick to just this main car, starting off with the first edition version. So this is the first edition version here in black and in brown. It's a standard affair with the skull and crossbones. And we'll look at the actual casting itself to start off with. It appears to be Yes, this appears to be based on some kind of very early Ford, possibly the 32 or the 34, very vaguely. This was designed by Larry Wood, one of the very famous Hot Wheels designers. They did do a real-life version of this, not particularly this version, but I believe it might have been the anniversary edition. But it was, ironically, or strangely enough, the real-life version is built upon a Chevrolet C5, of all things, as its chassis. So I thought that was interesting. In no particular order, we'll move on to this one, which was a part of the 50th anniversary sort of series as they did. This is sort of the orange type series. This was the main line, so there's one of these in blue as well. And as well as having different colors, they also have different numbers on them. So that's 3 and that's 7, which is an odd choice. But the canopies are the same. So this is the same inside. This is the same color inside, except inverted, weirdly. Yeah, so some kind of relatively basic racing livery, but inverted. This particular version is not only a misprint, strangely enough, but was the version that appeared stock in the Forza Horizon 3 game when they first started doing the Hot Wheels crossovers. This version here with the skull on one side, so it's asymmetrical. I think this version looks really nice. Any Bone Shaker that's matte black, I think looks really nice. I think matte black suits it better than glossy black. But here is the same car, but with slightly better sort of text here. And yeah, different wheels. This is what I was saying, like different wheels is really strange. I believe this version was from a promo series that had the blue wheels. Yeah. Why did I make the same car with different wheels? I genuinely don't know the answer to that. This one, I believe, was from a 5-pack to do with the Batman. And this is, of course, the Joker version of it, which instead of having a normal face, has a Joker face instead of the skull. So it's a variant, but it's basically a Bone Shaker. It's just a weird variant. See what I mean? You have wheel variants, you have variants, you have color variants, you have misprints. And of course, you have promo versions. This is the promo version from the Hot Wheels Unleashed video game. You can only buy this if you bought the special edition of the game, I think on pre-order. Of course, the Hot Wheels Unleashed logo at the back there. The livery isn't anything to particularly write home about, although the paint job is really nice in this red. I think it's quite interesting. But yeah, it's just weird that it has a promo version. Next up is the 50th Anniversary Edition, which was, again, another special set. I think, again, matte black works really well here, and just the gold and the blue really makes this car pop off. Just looks beautiful. We have I guess a branded variant here with the Moon Eyes Bone Shaker. They've done a few different Moon Eyes cars over the years of different types, including the, what's it called? The The VW Bus one, the Cool Combi, but this, of course, is the Moon Eyes version of this particular Bone Shaker. So it has like Moon equipment, some Moon Eyes decals, of course, the titular Moon Eyes eyes. They're a famous speed, very, very famous speed shop. And a lot of their logos and stickers appear on cars that have not been made or have anything to do with Moon Eyes stuff at all. People just love the logo. It's become kind of a brand, effectively like a accessory brand almost at this point, where you just slap stickers on stuff. Of course, number 68, referencing the famous, 1968 when first Hot Wheels were produced. Yeah, I think yellow and black. I mean, yellow and black is just a really striking color scheme anyway. I don't know if I'd have done a stripe because, this you can see like barely any of it because it's an open top car, this particular version. It's also another weird casting version I forgot to mention is some of them are open top and some of them are not. It's really weird. There's also in silver and black for Moon Eyes, which I think works almost as well. I think I prefer that, but this is almost as good. But again, color variants among same things. Same with these Flames versions. We have a red Flames version with sort of red wool tires, I guess, and a black version, which is sort of a metallic black, sort of a metallic, almost glittery black, rather than matte red with just standard wheels. In fact, the wheel types amongst these two, despite having near enough identical liveries, they have different types of wheels, which is bizarre. Next up, we have just the standard green version, which has sort of the Bonneville Flats / Drag Race logos there to determine what type of what league or bracket that car is in. I don't know the brackets off by heart. I have a pink version, which is also special in a way that I actually cannot remember. I apologize for this gaffe. Someone in the comments let me know. I believe this was unique in a particular way, but I can't remember because I have that many versions. I have another relatively standard one here, yellow with a Flames paint with the Hot Wheels logo in there. This is the yellow variant of that one, which in itself has a variant. We have the Team Hot Wheels version, which I think is to do with the TV show. And I think this also has a color variant. This is interesting. This has specifically white wool tires. We have one of the more older versions, which is the Bilge Rats sort of logo for another sort of random speed shop. I think gray works really well for this too. It would have been nice if it had some sort of rust effect on it, giving it kind of a rat rod kind of look. We have the number 6 version here in red. So again, another flat, sort of salt flat racing model here in actually 2 different colors. I think the orange is a lot nicer here than the metallic red. We have another relatively standard one. I think this also has a variant that I don't own in a different color. And then we have that version, which is more of a like sponsored racing version with all those sponsors down the side. So more of a professional racer type. And of course you have the special Peanuts version for the Peanuts show. I don't know much about Peanuts other than there's Snoopy in it, and that's kind of it. But the color scheme is nice, and I don't know why they picked Bone Shaker for this particular series, but sure. And then, of course, finally, last but certainly not least, the Treasure Hunt version here in gold. You can see the T-Hunt logo right there at the bottom. It's a fairly standard livery, but again, black and gold is perhaps the best color combination. I think I preferred this matte black rather than gloss, but I think it pops nonetheless. You can see it was sort of the Metal Flake Spectraflame type paint rather than the normal paint that they would otherwise use on standard models. I, of course, do not own the Super Treasure Hunt version of this because that is prohibitively expensive to try to own, let alone to find. But that's all the variants of this particular car, and there are many. There are also quite a few which I don't have pictured here, from various promotional versions to probably Comic-Con versions, etc., that are either very rare or just I haven't picked them up, honestly. But we'll move on. So we don't have too many versions of this, although they didn't make that many versions of this. This is the Baja Bone Shaker version, which is more of a dirt off-road racing variant. As you can see, we have sort of a wheel at the back. They're always closed canopy. The engine design is a little bit different. This is largely the same. We have sort of different, we have mud flaps, we have dirt off-roading wheels, we have a better front grille. The shaker bit has arms and hands at the side of the grille. We, of course, have these lights at the top. And the back has a somewhat different profile. Of course, we have an undercarriage section to elevate it, etc., etc. But you can see the overall sort of bodywork and underpinnings are virtually the same. Virtually. It's just a modified version, which is odd because it's a modified version of a modified car. But the skull is the same. Yeah, same but different. And this is sort of one version, which I think has a sponsor, or might have been a name. No, that's, yeah, so it's, you can see here, L. Woods, as in, like, you know, how, like, rally cars and things have the, sort of the driver's name on them. Of course, L. Woods for Larry Wood. This version here, a standard skull and crossbones variant. I kind of like the burnt orange, actually. It gives it a very desert vibe. This, speaking of desert vibes, this almost looks almost military-like. Almost. Sort of a khaki gold, nearly. And I think this actually pops, rather than having silver, having it being black painted here. This is just the blue version of that version. I don't like the baby blue, to be honest. I think it's a bit weird for a car like this. And then sort of this version, which gives me vibes of the first edition one with this just skull and crossbones. Very basic, but I think this works really well. But yeah, there's not that many versions of this, but it is strange that I think there's a monster truck version of this and a monster truck version of the regular one, which seems kind of strange. And then finally we have something kind of in the line of tuned cars, which are these skull shakers. So the head kind of goes backwards and forwards as it rolls. Forward and backward. Head kind of like one of those dancing Hawaiian dolls or whatever that you see in the front of people's cars sometimes. But yeah, skull shaker. It's a tiny, squashed, angled version of the normal bone shaker with a little guy in it. Kind of has Ed Roth vibes, if you know of Ed Roth. But this, I believe, it came out roughly the same time as this, and this is kind of meant to parody this particular version. And then that, of course, is just an alt of that. They have brought out more Skull Shaker since. I think this was the first version of the Skull Shaker. But I haven't picked up any of the variants since. I kind of wasn't really interested in them, as most people generally aren't interested in tuned versions of things. But I picked these up just as an example for the collection. There is also, I think, a Bone Speeder, which is sort of has a longer sort of front profile to this. This is kind of put to the back, so it's not a trucked version. This is brought forward to give it more of a dragster or faster look. And I believe there might be another version that I'm forgetting. And of course, the monster trucks that I don't have. But that's all of the castings compared today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and let me know what you think is the coolest Bone Shaker version or paint difference. And I shall see you all in the next video. Thank you guys, and I'll see you soon.